you're so used to having to shut up and listen to other people that it's kind of like muscle memory, second nature to you. And that's not what spirit wants for you. Okay? So you've got like you've got a daughter and then a son that are up there, right? They're a little older. There's like an age gap between the youngest and then the two older ones. There's like a big age gap. It's almost like a surprise. I feel like your youngest daughter is
My youngest is a boy.
oh
All my kids are about 4 or 5 years apart. So
oh wow, yeah, like
I've got a 10-year gap between the oldest and the youngest.
that's the exact same thing with me too. I'm the oldest, and then my youngest sister. I've got two younger sisters. She's almost exactly 10 years and 20 days apart from me. She was almost a Taurus, like me, but she became a Gemini. So
Okay.
I'm getting kind of that similar vibe with you that the youngest was not planned, but definitely a precious surprise. And the others were definitely planned. Like, I feel like you were hoping and trying for either the oldest or the second oldest. One of them was, I think, difficult to conceive, or around that time, it was like there were so many unknowns in your life that you unknowingly, no pun intended, uh, kind of prevented your body. Not that you meant to do it, but you were just not ready, right?
Yeah.
Because you wanted to have kids where you would be settled down somewhere physically, you'd have a little bit more job security from your husband, and you guys would have more things established and wouldn't have to move somewhere new or be on the road and whatnot. Your guides are really appreciating that because your husband has this, or your guy has this. I don't know if you guys are still together. I think you are.
No.
Oh, oh, are things kind of weird?
No, I've been divorced for about 7 years. The last person I was in a relationship with passed on now. So
Oh, that's why I'm seeing kind of like an in and an out, but there's some trust issues that you have, which are less about the person and more about the circumstances. So that makes a lot of sense that you would be like, I don't want to invest in somebody because something like that might happen to me, which is totally understandable. Um, so that's what I get from you, where it's like you might struggle in trying to maintain relationships because you get to a scary place where you start to realize, okay, stuff's getting real, things are moving in a certain direction, there's momentum, there's something being built, and holy fuck balls, I don't know if I'm ready for that, but you are, but you're not. And then he gets crazy from that because he's like, what are you on or off? Are you hot or cold? You know, I'm hearing the Katy Perry song.
yep.
And it's not that you intend to do that. This is trauma. This is you working through your trust, and his passing is one of several life circumstances that built up to him sort of being, or him passing sort of being the event that was like the cymbal crash in the song. It was like psh, it was like the crescendo.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was like building, building, building up because you definitely had trust issues before, but never like this.
Yeah.
Um, so they wanted me to talk about your kids a little bit too. You're either thinking about or concerned about your son, I want to say.
Yeah.
He, well, like his father, he also has this kind of like, this is another thing I was going to say. He he has this thing about him, and your his father, him and his father both have this I don't want to be tied down kind of thing, where it's not that they intend for that, it's that they have so many opportunities on their horizon that they will consider, that they don't want to be anchored down so much to the point that they have to let go of those opportunities. They want to be accessible to those opportunities to a big degree, so that, for example, if they're living in California and they've got like this job already established, but this side hustle comes along and is really enticing, and they're just really feeling it, but it's in New York City, they would rather just not be tied down so they can leave tomorrow and start their entire life fresh and new in New York City. But you are not like that. So there's this push and pull, tug of war kind of thing that his father had while you guys were together that you are now seeing in your son. And that's triggering, because it's almost like reliving your divorce, or your separation, I should say, because it happened way longer before the divorce. It was like you did absolutely everything you possibly could leading up to the actual papers and everything. I feel like it was years. You were trying to make things work. And so this is like almost like a re-triggering of that. And you're like, he's my son, what the hell? Like, and it's just, I feel like you feel weird on top of how you feel. So you're low-key kind of judging yourself for thinking this is weird in multiple ways. Because it's like there's part of you that still appreciates your ex, because there was definitely a fair amount of both of you being on the same page by the time you decided to do what you did, because you both, he made concessions and so did you. You guys made sacrifices for one another. But sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. I've definitely been in that position myself too. It's been very frustrating because I've also just wanted love and family and like you. Because I feel like you and I both come from kind of tumultuous families ourselves, where
Definitely.
mom and dad and the family is just like fucked up and they don't realize they are, but we do, and we're the bad guy, and that makes them feel better for us being the bad guy, but it's really just them projecting. Because I feel like your mom also does what my mom does. La 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 la, not listening, everything's fine, head's in the sand, and she'll do that to the day that she leaves.
Yep.
And that's my mom too. I've had to come to terms with that actually last year, and 2 years ago. I had an epiphany when we were on the phone, and she said, now we want you over for Thanksgiving, but here's the ground rules. We don't want you to talk about spirituality. We don't want you to talk about politics. We don't want you to talk about anything. Basically going down the whole list and being like, we just want to see you and love you and appreciate you. And what they're actually saying is, we want to feel good about ourselves so that we don't have to be accountable for how we have not been there for you or have not understood anything about who you are.
Yeah, and they're not actually loving you for you then in that case either.
They're not
loving you for who they want you to be.
Exactly. And it's by no coincidence that even just earlier today, I came across a Facebook post by one of my friends, and Spirit was really nudging me to say something. And I was like, do I really want to say something here? And they're like, just say it. I'm like, okay. So it's this friend of mine. She's also a medium, but she's at a certain place in her life where she just hasn't accepted that she's a people pleaser, and to her own detriment. And if I come in there, guns blazing, be like, you and I gotta leave, and you gotta do blah, blah, blah. Sometimes they lock up, and then they see, oh, you're the problem. You must be the problem. And then the narcissist will jump on the bandwagon and be like, hey, we got something to work with here now. And then they'll spin it to their advantage. But then we're left frustrated, angry, and picking up the pieces just for being a pure-hearted soul that wants to reach out and help and just interact in the way that we do. So you've definitely got this kind of sense about you too, where you want people to understand your perspective. You want to be validated for yourself and from them, and you want a tribe and a family, especially as far as women are concerned, because you've also been jaded by trying to have girlfriends because they don't last. They
Yeah.
they end up seeing you as the bad guy again and just playing like middle school politics, and you're just so done with that.
Yep.
So you feel very alone at this time in your life.
Yeah.
So it's important to acknowledge that and to feel that and to give yourself the space, therefore the time. You see how they wanted me to word that? Don't think of it as like, oh, I don't have time for this. What you're really saying is, I'm not prioritizing this as a thing in my life. So there's nothing wrong with that. Just try to catch yourself when you'll say those things from muscle memory.
Okay.
Because you do have space that you can put some time in your life for yourself. Does it have to be 4 hours a day? No. But as I'm hearing, as long as it's consistent, you're going to start to build trust from yourself, because you can't trust other people if you don't trust your own self. So it's less like your brain saying, I can't trust me, and it's more about your body recognizing patterns that you've gone through in your life, letting the needs and wants and desires of other people just kind of fill that. And there's a fear of, it's not a logical fear, because you're over this mentally. It's a body thing where your body kind of like tenses up and expects that you need to walk on eggshells. And it's had that again and again and again and again and again and again and again. So it has like this groove. It's like etched this riverbed in there. And so even if the water is trickling elsewhere, it's almost like that riverbed assumes that it's gonna flow like it always has. So you're definitely working against some muscle memory, and because of that, you need consistency with your practice of presence. So I see, you should set the bar low.
Okay.
And then once you get that, it's like, okay, all right, I did that. I relaxed for 5 minutes today. I had an opportunity to do it, and instead of filling it with something more productive, I was like, no, I want this for me, so I'm going to do it. It's going to take a lot, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those repeating circumstances for your body to like start to loosen its grip on wanting to control how things are going to happen. Because you kind of, that's how you've been self-soothing yourself, but it's kind of misleading because it's not really soothing. You self-distract to, it's almost like taking a hit off a pipe or something, because I know earlier you used to, well, I mean, I don't know what's in your pen.
It's just nicotine.
Okay, gotcha. Because you have tried that, but you're like, I want to be more functioning, and that's understandable. Maybe you should hit me up later, because in this house, I've got this whole huge house for myself, and I've got 3 bedrooms, and my girlfriend is in the Philippines right now, so she's not with me. But I was thinking, if I'm not going to do Airbnb, I might as well grow.
There you go.
And I've been a lifelong stoner, but I'm like 3-4 months sober now. But
congratulations.
Thank you. It's been difficult. I was just saying this earlier to my girl. Alcohol has never had a grip on me like it has in my family. And I'm so thankful for that. But my soft spot was marijuana and nicotine. But I quit. At one point, I was like, I gotta have one or the other. So
yeah.
And I was like, it's way better just to have. For me, I thought it's way better just to have greenies than nicotine. So, but
more natural.
yeah. There's but I've always been, I've had this vision where I can grow, but I'm going to do it differently than other people do.
Okay.
Whereas these days, they're looking for potency. They're looking for, I've already got a tolerance. I'm already addicted, but I don't want to say that I am, which is a lot of people, unfortunately. And I always get in trouble when I bring that up because nobody wants to listen to that message. There's either like the hardcore hippies or the gangster kind of, gangbanger type of guys, or people that just want like dabs and they want to get blitzed and they just want to like check out. And then there's the people on the other end who are like, marijuana is against God and is against the law and blah, blah, blah. And so there's like no middle ground. But I've always wanted to grow something natural without trying to make it as potent as possible. Just give it love, give it space, give it time. Because a lot of people don't realize what they do to make the plant so potent is they stress the girls out. They make them believe that the male plant is nearby, and then they keep the lights on for like the last 2 weeks so that they keep producing THC, 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 THC. And so the life force, the experience that being has is like freaking out before they die. And so that energy transfers to the people consuming that. So if you've ever noticed, like potheads, after years of abusing that, they will get really edgy and really paranoid about everybody and everything. And I was definitely in that camp. And then I started.
That's why I can't smoke it. I get paranoid.
Exactly, because it's like we're so sensitive. We pick up on that experience. We're like psychically picking up on that life, just like if we were going to eat bad bacon from a pig that had a horrible life, like that's going to screw us up,
Yeah.
And it's just, we're learning this as a society and as individuals. So it's really cool that you get that, because there's a time in your life where you'd be like, what are you talking about? This is crazy. Like,
For sure.
crazy. Yeah, so that's what God wants to say too, is like, sometimes this is a message for me too, actually. Sometimes our lives can be so hard and so difficult and frustrating. And it's like, we just want simple things and it seems so out of reach.
Yeah.
The blessing in this is we are learning things and we are growing in ways that can be difficult for us to see unless we stop and smell the roses, kind of thing. And I'm guilty of this too, where I'll just be like, okay, what next? What next? What next? What do we got to do? What do we got to do? Because I came from that world, and it's still part of the muscle memory, even though things are very different now. And sometimes it just takes a brief moment, like maybe not even 5 minutes, like 30 seconds, where you just thank something about your experience, or not even thank, you can just notice something about your life, your experience, your now, that relates to how you overcame something, how you learned about something, how you've changed for the better, not always for the worse, but for the better, and how if there was not that struggle, you would not be there. I
guess I stopped saying that a lot, so.
It sounds so cliche, but to really not even talk about it, but just to be there. It's like, mountain climbers. I don't think mountain climbers are so addicted to that because of getting to the top and then they're looking at the top of the mountain at the whole horizon. Because like if that was the case, they would just get into a helicopter and fly up there.
Yeah.
Just be like, drop me there, and now I'm gonna feel the satisfaction of being at the top. It's more about like the struggle and the challenge and overcoming it. I saw this meme the other day, and they're showing me this now to bring this into your reading, where, oh, can you bring it back again? It came and then it went, because I was explaining it. That happened to you too, where it's like you get
It
a
does,
vision
yeah.
and then because you have to translate it or you're trying to share that with the outside or with another person, just staying off of that stream for a little bit, you're like, oh, where'd it go? um, it'll come back. It was a really good meme though. It was a really good message. It was about like something about like what we're saying, or it's not about the destination. It's more about the journey and
For sure.
about um, how that is how that's experienced for us. That plays a huge role. And even looking back just last year in your life, if last year's version of you was looking at the current version of you, you'd be like, whoa, how did she get through that? And like she's living pretty well in a lot of ways. And she's growing in her spirituality. And I feel like too, your spiritual growth before, when it first started, like the first couple of steps you took, was kind of like towards one path or very focused, and you wanted like one flavor of ice cream in your bowl. But now you've kind of learned that you need to be more open to new things that you don't have an expectation for that might knock on your door and say, hey, look, what do you think about this? And you're kind of like, these days, you're kind of like, hmm. But last year, you'd be like, I don't want that. That's got nothing to do with this bowl I've got here.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm into yoga. I'm really into yoga. Yoga's got to be the way for me. Or something. It's got that kind of like flavor to it.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
and then nowadays, it's like, even if you're super invested into one thing or two things or three things, if new things come your way, you're at least open to it.
Yeah.
And now it's interesting because you're kind of starting to see a glimpse into what your son's perspective is kind of like, but not with spiritual things, with like real things, like like how your ex would be about like just I need a job, need money, need this, need that, like being practical things. Thank you, that was the word. So, but it's weird, isn't it? How sometimes we can like find ourselves in a point of time, and you look back at somebody that had made a significant impact in your life, and you're kind of like, wow, I kind of feel and see how they felt and like their perspective is, but in a different way.
It all comes back around some way, somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because, like, here's what I feel. I feel like your ex and you, there's still feelings that you have for each other.
For sure. Always will, yeah.
And it's like his problem or his challenge has always been, how do I combine the practical with like my heart? Because he's not typically the kind of person to follow his heart. He's always they're joking right now. They're like, he followed his dick, and it's like, well, not exactly. That's part of it, but like the practical. He's always been more focused on nuts and bolts, how things work, how things don't, what he can what he can feel in his hands. You know, how he can sleep well at night is knowing he's got his bank account that's well taken care of and all that. But he's really being challenged lately. I don't know if how much you are somewhat in contact, but I feel like it's just bare minimum.
Yeah, very
But
much so.
but if you've been feeling that and you've been having like recurring feelings or thoughts pop into your head out of nowhere in the day where you just think about him,
Yeah.
that's why.
So this feels more like I had a relationship on and off for 4 years, so it feels like this is fitting more to that
Is it?
relationship, that ex-husband, yeah, but very much so.
Well, there might be both of them here because I didn't say it earlier, but I got a twin flame kind of vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like heaven and hell mixed together with this guy,
Yeah.
this other guy.
Yes.
But I still feel that your ex, your son's father, is also. He's thinking about you. He's considering you and himself. He's reviewing all the moments in the past that he just kind of like slid on by with, because he that was always his way of like dealing with life's challenges, was to just let it flow, the path of least resistance. And that pissed
Yeah.
you off because you were like, no, like I want to be understood and I want to be heard right here and now. Don't like fluff it off. Don't just like, because that's how you took it. Now he's
Yeah.
seeing from your perspective. He's understanding what that was like for how he was, because he's with a woman now that allows him to see that part of his choosing leading all the way back, because he has that similar kind of pattern in relationships that he's got. This is definitely your ex, but we can go to your twin flame, but I think you kind of already know what's going on with that, because it's less to do about with you guys being together and more about like what still needs to heal in you and
Yeah.
him. They suck,
For
don't they?
sure.
Like twin flame relationships are freaking awesome, but they suck balls. They just they're so challenging.
Yeah.
They open you up to yourself, and they can be very difficult to move on from. Because for me, I met mine in 2019, and it took me. Oh, you too?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I didn't know if I would come out alive after we broke up, because she was very narcissistic and controlling, and so same for you with him, and
Yeah.
she lurks. I can feel it. She spies. You don't have this
Yeah.
same thing going on with you necessarily, because like he still pretends like I don't want nothing to do with her, but with mine, she regrets now what she did, but too little, too late.
Yep.
I've already been.
Yep.
It's nothing.
Cultivate yourself.
Exactly. It's like we don't hate them, we don't want to punish them, but there's just no way we're going back there. There just isn't. And even if they have the best of intentions, especially with the divine masculines, because I'm a divine feminine, you're a divine feminine too. Like regardless of gender, but the divine feminines have had to learn how to be in your own power and be okay with that for the past 3 years. That's what it's been about for us. And because we're the feminines, we're always the ones to start things off. So we show by example and we lead in that way.
Yeah.
The masculines are trailing behind because that shit freaks them out. Not having control freaks them the hell out.
Yeah.
And they're just like, don't know what to do with that. And now they know what to do, like logically they see before them, so they formulate. So your guy too, he's like this other guy, not your ex-husband, but your twin flame. He formulates. He's a calculator, and
Yes.
he's smooth. He knows what to say, when to say it, blah blah blah. Just like mine too. And
Yeah.
even though they feel and they know and they understand what they did, they're still compartmentalizing it. They're not integrating it. It's like off over here, but now over here at this workstation, I'm gonna come up with some plan on how I can
Yeah.
manipulate reality and take advantage of a situation to kind of like sneak back in, because I'm missing that. Like they still just don't get it. They will though.
Yeah.
They will, but it's not
Yeah.
our duty.
He went and got engaged this last week too. After
I don't think that's
6 months.
gonna. I don't think that's gonna last, and you know it.
No.
He's just doing the same thing. I'm hearing that song, "Papa was a Rolling Stone." Have you heard that? Wherever he laid his hat was his home.
Yep.
And when he died, Mama said he left me alone, or something like that.
I'll have to listen to it later
Yeah,
now.
it's like Papa Was Rolling Stone by the. It was in the 70s. What group is that? It was like an oldies, a classic group.
Sure.
But yeah, so he wash, rinse, repeats. And it
Yes.
takes a certain amount of years and decades that go by for a person to really start feeling the effects of that, to look at their patterns and to be like, shit, I am stuck. So that's kind of where he's at. But like, we need to be careful because we have such a pure, open heart, even with all of that pain and what can be forgiven but must never be forgotten. We still have that ability, because they don't want to say danger, they don't want to say propensity, because we've changed now in meaningful ways.
Yes.
We still have that capability of just throwing it out the window, because that's that muscle memory. Just don't do that. And me too.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch base with? Because that was the timer. It rang. Doesn't that go?
Oh, I think we've kind of gone over a lot of things, so
Yeah,
I appreciate your time.
and I appreciate working with you too. So much of this, I'm getting a specific number. 74% of everything spoken here was reiterated about what you intuitively know, but it's so valuable for us to get confirmation and to get validation from other sensitives and other people, especially other divine feminines. I didn't think that was going to come up in reading. I haven't actually talked about twin flames in ages with people. So there must be something going on with the eclipse and with the astrology to kind of bring this back, because you know as well as I do, when we're working through cycles in life and we're just about ready to get out of one, the universe brings a set of circumstances and people back to us and is kind of like, do you really want that? Do
Yes.
you really? And then, you're either going to be tempted and be like, ah, shit, I want it again. Or you're going to be like, okay, that's confirmation. I don't feel the same way. I'm done with that. That's fine. It's not pulling at me anymore in the same way. And
Yeah.
sometimes that happens without us even realizing it, which is part of the beauty and part of what God wants to remind you of again. In those moments where it's like sometimes we just feel like we haven't made progress, but we really have. And we're not going to know unless we're challenged again. So we have to see the silver lining on the dark cloud and to appreciate what kind of gift it is and what kind of opportunity it is. Because it is so easy to see it as a negative thing only, but it's not. It's
Right.
it's either or, it's both, or it's none.
We've grown and our boundaries are there. Now we get to practice them when those things come up. And
Yeah, and it's certainly surprised me a lot this year, because I've noticed it just in the past 6 months alone. So many things that would have like irked the crap out of me, but now I'm just like, wow, I've really grown. I feel I'm like a different person now in a good way. So
I appreciated this. Thank
yeah, I
you.
appreciated it too. Thanks so much.